The phone vibrated at 2:47 a.m., and it wasn't mine. I stood there in our dark bedroom, my husband's jacket draped over my trembling hands, staring at the glowing screen of a device I'd never seen before. A message preview lit up the darkness. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, baby." Same hotel? My breath caught in my throat. The room spun. 3 months. 3 months since I'd forgiven him. 3 months since he'd sworn on our 22 years of marriage, on our daughter Emily's life, that the affair was over. 3 months of rebuilding trust, of going to couples therapy every Thursday evening, of me swallowing my pride and humiliation to give him another chance. And here it was, the proof. Hidden in the inner pocket of his navy blue jacket, the one he wore to work every single day. A second phone. A burner. The kind of phone you only get when you have something to hide. My knees buckled. I sat on the edge of our bed, the bed where we'd made love just hours ago, where he'd whispered that he loved me, that I was his everything. The phone buzzed again. Another message. "I'm wearing the red lingerie you bought me." I felt bile rise in my throat. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the phone. 22 years. 2 decades of cooking his meals, raising his child, supporting his career, moving across 3 states for his promotions. 22 years of being faithful, devoted, present. And this was my reward. This was what loyalty bought me. A second phone. A secret life. A man who could look me in the eyes and lie with the ease of someone who'd done it 1,000 times before. I heard the shower turn off down the hall. He was humming. Actually, humming. Some pop song from the radio, carefree and content, as if he hadn't just destroyed me all over again. I had maybe 2 minutes before he came back into the bedroom. 2 minutes to decide what to do with this information. 2 minutes to choose between confronting him now or playing the long game. My heart hammered against my ribs. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cool November air seeping through our bedroom window. Outside, the maple tree we'd planted when Emily was born swayed in the wind, its bare branches scratching against the glass like skeletal fingers. Everything felt surreal, like I was watching my life implode from outside my own body. The bathroom door creaked open. I heard his footsteps padding down the hallway, coming closer. Instinct took over. I slipped the phone back into his jacket pocket exactly where I'd found it. My movements quick and practiced, like a spy in my own home. I climbed back into bed, pulled the covers up to my chin, and closed my eyes. My entire body was on fire with rage and heartbreak, but I forced my breathing to slow, to mimic sleep. I heard him enter the room, felt him pause, probably looking at me to see if I was awake. Then the rustle of clothes, the click of his phone being plugged in to charge. His phone, the one I knew about, the decoy. He slipped into bed beside me, and the mattress dipped under his weight. His arm draped across my waist. "Love you, Claire," he whispered into the darkness. I bit down on my tongue until I tasted copper. Love. The word meant nothing anymore. It was just another lie in a relationship built on deception. My name is Claire Henderson, and until 3 months ago, I thought I knew who I was. I'm 51 years old, a resident of Madison Heights, a quiet suburb about 30 miles outside of Detroit, Michigan. For the past 22 years, I've been Mrs. Claire Henderson, wife of David Henderson, a successful automotive parts manager who climbs the corporate ladder with calculated precision. I'm also the mother of Emily, our 20-year-old daughter who's away at college in Ann Arbor, studying to become a veterinarian. Before all of this, I would have described my life as comfortable, predictable, maybe even blessed. We have a nice 4-bedroom colonial house with a 2-car garage. We take annual vacations to Florida. We host Thanksgiving dinner. We're that couple at church who everyone thinks has it all figured out. But comfort can be a cage. Predictability can be a prison. And blessings can turn into curses when you realize they were all built on quicksand. I used to work. That's something I need you to understand about me. I wasn't always this woman who existed in the shadow of her husband's success. 23 years ago, I was Claire Morrison, a promising junior architect at a firm in Chicago. I designed commercial spaces, had my work featured in a local design magazine, wore power suits and carried leather portfolios. I had ambition. I had dreams. Then I met David at a mutual friend's wedding. He was charming, attentive, successful. We dated for 8 months before he proposed at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the Chicago skyline. I was 29 and pregnant with Emily. It seemed like fate, like everything was falling perfectly into place. David's job required flexibility, frequent relocations for promotions. When Emily was 6 months old, he got an offer in Indianapolis, a significant raise and title bump. "It's temporary," he'd said. "2 years max. Then we'll move back to Chicago and you can return to architecture." I believed him. I packed up our apartment, said goodbye to my firm, and followed him. But Indianapolis turned into 4 years. Then there was an opportunity in Louisville, then Nashville, then Detroit. Each move took me further from my career, further from the woman I used to be. I became a professional relocator, a maker of homes in unfamiliar cities, a builder of temporary friendships that I'd have to abandon at the next transfer. Emily was my constant, my purpose, my reason for accepting it all. And David always promised that once he reached a certain level, once we had enough saved, once Emily was older, I could go back to work. The goalposts kept moving. The someday never came. Now, sitting in our bedroom at dawn, unable to sleep after discovering that second phone, I realized something profound and terrible. I've spent 2 decades making myself smaller so David could become bigger. I left my career. I left my friends. I left my identity. And for what? For a man who could cheat on me, swear it was over, then immediately start another affair. For a man who looks at me like I'm furniture, necessary but unremarkable, present but invisible. I cook his meals exactly how he likes them. Eggs over easy with wheat toast and 2 strips of crispy bacon every Saturday morning. I keep the house immaculate because he hates clutter. I attend his company dinners and smile beside him while his colleagues' wives talk about their own careers, their own accomplishments, their own lives outside of their husbands' shadows. I nod along, pretending I'm content being known only as David's wife. The truth is, I disappeared. Slowly, over 22 years, I vanished. I became a supporting character in someone else's story, and the worst part, I let it happen. I chose it. Every single time I said yes to another move, every time I put his career above my dreams, every time I swallowed my disappointment and painted on a smile, I was choosing this. I was choosing to erase myself. 3 months ago, when I discovered David's first affair, I thought I'd hit rock bottom. I found hotel receipts in his car, charged to his personal credit card. The one he told me was for business expenses only. 4 different hotels over 6 months, all in Detroit, nowhere he'd need to travel for work. When I confronted him, he crumbled. Tears, apologies, promises. He said her name was Melissa, a woman from his gym, that it meant nothing, that he'd been going through a midlife crisis, that I was the only woman he truly loved. I wanted to throw him out. My sister Rachel in Portland begged me to leave him, to come stay with her, to start over. But I thought about Emily, about disrupting her college experience with our divorce, about splitting assets and starting over at 51 with no recent work experience, about explaining to our friends, our church, my parents, that I'd failed at marriage. The shame felt suffocating, so I chose to forgive him, or at least, I chose to try. We started therapy. Dr. Patricia Brennan, a marriage counselor with an office that smelled like lavender and displayed motivational posters about trust and communication. Every Thursday at 6 p.m., we'd sit on her beige sofa and talk about our feelings, our needs, our marriage. David performed beautifully. He talked about his insecurities, his fear of aging, his gratitude for my forgiveness. He deleted Melissa's number in front of me. He gave me all his passwords. He came home straight after work every day. He brought me flowers. He was attentive, affectionate, present. I started to believe that maybe people could change, that maybe our marriage could survive this, that maybe my choice to stay was the right one. But the second phone changes everything. It means he didn't just relapse. It means he never stopped. It means every therapy session was theater. Every apology was manipulation. Every moment of tenderness was calculated deception. He didn't just cheat again. He evolved. He got smarter. He bought a burner phone specifically to continue lying to me. That takes planning. That takes premeditation. That takes a level of disrespect that I can barely comprehend. The days following my discovery were torture. I walked through my life like a ghost, maintaining the facade of normalcy, while rage and humiliation churned inside me. David noticed nothing. Or perhaps he noticed and didn't care. At breakfast, he'd kiss my forehead and compliment the coffee. At dinner, he'd tell me about his day, completely oblivious to the fact that I knew everything. Or maybe that's not fair. Maybe he wasn't oblivious. Maybe he just didn't think I was smart enough to catch him. That thought made it worse somehow. The idea that he underestimated me, that he viewed me as too trusting, too passive, too broken down to question anything anymore. I started watching him with new eyes, noticing patterns I'd previously dismissed as routine. He showered immediately when he got home from work, every single day, even when he'd barely broken a sweat sitting in his office. He kept his jacket on a hook in the garage, away from the main house, claiming he didn't want to bring outside germs into our home. He'd started going to the gym 6 days a week instead of his usual 3, always in the evenings, always for exactly 2 hours. Trying to get in shape, he'd say, patting his slight belly. Not as young as I used to be. I'd smile and tell him he looked great. Inside, I was screaming. The worst part was our Thursday therapy sessions. I'd sit there on Dr. Brennan's beige couch, watching David lie with such conviction that even I almost believed him. "I'm so grateful Claire gave me another chance," he'd say, reaching for my hand. "I wake up every morning amazed that she's still here, that she chose to stay. I'll never take that for granted again." Dr. Brennan would smile, pleased with his progress. She'd look at me expectantly, waiting for me to validate his transformation. And I would. I'd squeeze his hand and say things like, "We're working through it," or "It's getting better," because what else could I do? Announce to our therapist that I'd discovered his second phone? Watch him scramble for excuses? Endure his gaslighting attempts? Not yet. I wasn't ready yet. At home, the performance continued. David brought me flowers every Friday, always from the same florist on Madison Avenue. Always tulips because he knew they were my favorite, except they weren't my favorite anymore. They'd been my favorite when I was 29, when we first started dating. Now I preferred peonies, but he'd never bothered to notice that I'd changed. He'd never noticed that I was a different person than I'd been 2 decades ago. To him, I was still that 29-year-old woman, frozen in time, unchanged by years and sacrifice and disappointment. It was like he'd married a photograph and expected it to never age or evolve. One Tuesday evening, David's work colleague Marcus and his wife Jennifer came over for dinner. I'd spent all day preparing, making David's favorite meal, pot roast with roasted vegetables and homemade rolls, because he'd specifically requested it. "Marcus is up for the same promotion I am," David had explained. "I want to show him that I have the complete package: successful career, stable home life, supportive wife." The words had made my skin crawl, but I'd agreed. I always agreed. I cooked, I cleaned. I set the table with our good china. I wore the navy dress David liked. I played my role. During dinner, Jennifer talked about her job as a real estate agent, about a big commercial property she'd just sold, about her plans to open her own agency. She was animated, confident, alive. David and Marcus listened politely, but I could see the dismissiveness in their body language, the way they tolerated her enthusiasm rather than celebrated it. When she finished talking, Marcus turned to David and started discussing car parts inventory systems, effectively ending her moment. Jennifer's face fell slightly, but she recovered quickly, turning to me instead. "What do you do, Claire?" she asked warmly. The question hung in the air. What did I do? I managed a household. I supported a husband. I'd raised a daughter. But none of those things felt like answers to her question. They felt like absences, like admissions of nothing. "I'm a homemaker," I said finally, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. David squeezed my knee under the table, a gesture I'd once found comforting, but now felt possessive. "Claire's amazing," he said. "She keeps everything running smoothly so I can focus on my career. I couldn't do what I do without her support." He smiled at me like he'd just paid me a tremendous compliment. Jennifer smiled too, but I saw the pity in her eyes, the pity of a woman who had her own identity looking at a woman who'd surrendered hers. After they left, David was elated. "That went perfectly," he said, loosening his tie. Marcus was impressed. "Did you see his face when he tried the pot roast? You're an incredible cook, Claire." He kissed me, long and deep, then led me upstairs to the bedroom. We had sex, and I performed my role in that too, making the appropriate sounds, moving in the familiar ways, giving him what he wanted. Afterward, he fell asleep within minutes, his arm heavy across my waist. I lay there in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. This was my marriage. This was my life. I was a prop in David's story, a background character who existed to make him look good and feel satisfied. And tomorrow, he'd wake up and check his second phone and continue his affair with whoever this woman was, and I'd make him breakfast and pretend I didn't know. The rage that had been simmering inside me since I'd found the phone began to solidify into something harder, colder. I thought about Jennifer's animated face as she talked about her real estate success. I thought about my sister Rachel in Portland, who'd started her own interior design business after her divorce and now employed 6 people. I thought about who I used to be, Claire Morrison the architect, the woman with ambitions and dreams, and a portfolio full of her own work. Where had she gone? When exactly had I stopped being her? And more importantly, could I ever get her back? I wasn't always this woman. That's what I kept telling myself in the weeks after discovering the second phone. I used to be someone with dreams and fire and the belief that my life was my own to shape. I need you to understand who I was before David, before the affair, before I became this hollow version of myself, because it matters. Because you need to know what I gave up, what I sacrificed, what I lost in the process of trying to be the perfect wife. When I was 7 years old, my father took me to see the Sears Tower in Chicago. He was a construction foreman, a man who built things with his hands, and he wanted to show me something magnificent. We stood at the base of that massive building, and he pointed up at the steel and glass reaching toward the sky. "Someone designed this, Claire Bear," he'd said, using his nickname for me. "Someone sat down with a pencil and paper and imagined this into existence. You can do that. You can create things that outlast you, that change how people live and work and experience the world." I was hooked from that moment. Architecture became my obsession, my purpose, my future. I drew buildings constantly, filled sketchbooks with designs for homes and offices and schools. My mother used to joke that I'd redesign our house in my sleep if I could. I worked hard. Straight A's through high school, full scholarship to the University of Illinois, 5 grueling years of architecture school, working part-time at a coffee shop to cover expenses my scholarship didn't. I graduated near the top of my class and landed an entry-level position at Morrison & Associates, a mid-sized firm in Chicago specializing in commercial spaces. I was 24, hungry, determined. I worked 60-hour weeks. I stayed late perfecting presentations. I studied under senior architects who saw potential in me. By 28, I'd been promoted twice and had my first major project, a redesign of a downtown office building that won a local award. My parents came to the ceremony. My father cried when they called my name. "That's my Claire Bear," he'd said proudly, "building things that matter." Then I met David at Susan's wedding. Susan was my roommate from college, and David was the best man, a friend of the groom from their fraternity days. He was 31, charming in his tuxedo, confident without being arrogant. We talked for hours at the reception, about our careers, our ambitions, our lives. He seemed impressed by my work, asked intelligent questions about architecture and design. He listened, really listened. Not like the men I'd dated before who'd nod politely, but clearly didn't care. David made me feel seen, valued, interesting. We exchanged numbers. He called the next day. We started dating. Looking back now, I wonder if I misread everything, if his interest in my career was genuine or performative, something to win me over before he systematically dismantled it. But at the time, it felt real. He'd visit my office to take me to lunch. He'd ask to see my latest designs. When my firm landed a major contract for a hospital redesign and I was chosen for the team, he took me to dinner to celebrate. "You're incredible," he'd said, raising his wine glass. "You're going to be one of the best architects in Chicago. I can't wait to watch you succeed." I believed him. I thought I'd found a partner who would support my dreams, who wouldn't feel threatened by my ambition. We got engaged 8 months later. I was pregnant a month after that. Emily wasn't planned, but we were both thrilled. David proposed a bigger apartment, closer to both our jobs. We talked about how we'd make it work, both of us building our careers while raising a child. My firm offered maternity leave, and I planned to return after 3 months. But when Emily was born, something shifted. She was perfect, this tiny human with my nose and David's eyes, and I fell completely, utterly in love. The idea of leaving her in daycare while I worked 60-hour weeks suddenly felt impossible. David suggested I take a full year off. "We can afford it," he'd said. "I got a raise. You've worked so hard for so long. Take time with our daughter. You deserve it." It seemed reasonable. Feminist even. A choice I was making for myself, not something being imposed on me. I took the year. But when Emily turned 1, David got the job offer in Indianapolis. Significant raise. Better title. Growth opportunity. "It's temporary," he'd promised. 2 years, 3 at most. Then we'll come back to Chicago and you can restart your career. What was I supposed to say? His career was hot, ascending. Mine had been paused. It made financial sense for us to follow his opportunities. I told myself I was being practical, supportive, mature. I told myself I'd go back to architecture eventually. I told myself I wasn't giving up my dreams, just postponing them. Indianapolis became Louisville. Louisville became Nashville. Nashville became Detroit. Each move required leaving behind whatever fragile professional connections I'd started to rebuild. In Louisville, I'd gotten a part-time position at a small firm, working on residential projects. It wasn't glamorous, but it was something. Then David got promoted again, and we had to move. In Nashville, I didn't even try to find work. The constant relocations had made me professionally radioactive. No firm wanted to invest in training someone who'd likely leave within 2 years. So I focused on Emily, on making each new house a home, on being the stable constant in her life as we moved from city to city. I told myself I was making a noble sacrifice, that being a mother was enough, that I didn't need professional success to feel fulfilled. But late at night, when David and Emily were asleep, I'd sometimes pull out my old portfolio from Chicago, looking at my early designs, remembering who I used to be. The ache of it was physical, like mourning someone who'd died. My father passed away when Emily was 15. Heart attack, sudden and devastating. At his funeral, my old architecture professor, Dr. Harmon, approached me. He'd come to pay respects because my father had helped build one of the university's new engineering buildings. "Claire Morrison," he'd said, shaking my hand. "I always wondered what happened to you. You had such incredible talent. Are you still designing?" The question gutted me. I mumbled something about focusing on family, on supporting my husband's career. Dr. Harmon nodded politely, but I saw the disappointment in his eyes. Another talented woman who disappeared into domesticity. Another career that died quietly, mourned by no one. He moved on to talk to other mourners, and I stood there feeling like a ghost, invisible even to myself. After Dad died, I tried to talk to David about returning to work. Emily was older, more independent. We'd been in Detroit for 5 years, our longest stint anywhere. Maybe I could take some courses, update my skills, start freelancing. David listened, then gently suggested I wait another few years. "Emily's applying to colleges soon," he'd said. "She'll need support through that process. And honestly, Claire, the architecture field has changed so much. Everything's digital now. It might be too late to catch up." His words felt like a door closing. Too late. I was 48. Too late to restart the career I'd paused at 29. Too late to become who I'd dreamed of being. Too late to matter in any space that wasn't David's home or David's life or David's needs. So I stayed quiet. I made peace with my choices. I told myself that raising Emily was accomplishment enough, that supporting David's success was valuable even if invisible. I went to church and volunteered and maintained our home and smiled at company dinners. I became good at being Mrs. David Henderson, even as Claire Morrison faded into memory, a girl I used to know who'd wanted impossible things. 3 weeks after discovering the second phone, David announced he had a business conference in Atlanta, Friday through Sunday. "Big meeting with the regional managers," he'd explained, already packing his suitcase. "Mandatory attendance. I should be back Sunday evening." He kissed my forehead, told me he loved me, and left. I watched him drive away from our bedroom window, watched his Audi disappear down Madison Avenue, and felt something inside me snap. I knew with absolute certainty that there was no conference, that he was going to meet whoever this woman was, that the second phone was buzzing with excited messages about their weekend together, and I couldn't do nothing anymore. I couldn't play the fool while he lived 2 lives. I couldn't maintain the facade that our marriage therapy was working, that forgiveness had healed anything, that we were rebuilding trust. It was all a lie, and I was drowning in it. I did something I'd never done before. I created a fake Facebook profile. Jennifer Stevens, complete with a stock photo of a pleasant-looking woman in her 40s. I searched for David's company, found several of his colleagues, friended them, established a presence. Then I posted in a business networking group. Anyone attending the Automotive Parts Managers Conference in Atlanta this weekend? Looking to network. Within hours, responses came in. People discussing a different conference in Houston. Others mentioning no major automotive conferences scheduled for November. No one mentioned Atlanta. Nothing matched David's story. My hands shook as I screenshotted everything. The evidence felt simultaneously powerful and pathetic. What was I going to do with it? Confront him when he returned? Demand the truth? He'd just create another lie. More elaborate, more convincing. He'd been lying for months, maybe years. He was good at it. Better than good. He was expert level. And I was tired. So desperately tired of being gaslit, of questioning my own perceptions, of wondering if I was crazy or paranoid or oversensitive. The screenshots proved I wasn't. They proved I was right to distrust him, but they didn't tell me what to do next. That Friday evening, alone in our house, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and started searching for the woman. I didn't have much to go on, just the messages I'd briefly seen on the second phone that night. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, baby. Same hotel? And I'm wearing the red lingerie you bought me. But I had David's patterns. I knew his gym was Pinnacle Fitness on Greenfield Road. I created another fake profile on Instagram, started following people who checked in at that location regularly. I spent hours scrolling through profiles, looking for women who might fit. Attractive, probably younger than me, active, fitness-oriented. It felt pathetic, playing detective in my own marriage, but I needed to know. I needed to put a face to the destruction of my life. On Saturday morning, I did something even more reckless. I drove to Pinnacle Fitness and waited in the parking lot. I felt insane, sitting in my Honda CR-V with sunglasses and a baseball cap like some character in a bad movie. But I needed to see, to know, to understand what I was competing against, what David had chosen over our 22 years together. I waited for 3 hours. People came and went, a parade of fitness enthusiasts in designer workout clothes. Then I saw her. She couldn't have been more than 35. Long blonde hair pulled into a high ponytail. Perfect body. All lean muscle and curves in the right places. She wore expensive athletic wear, the kind I'd never buy because what was the point? She walked with confidence, head high, phone pressed to her ear, laughing at whatever the person on the other end was saying. She was everything I wasn't. Young, vibrant, unweighed by years of sacrifice and disappointment. Beautiful in that effortless way I'd never been even at my best. I watched her enter the gym and felt something crumble inside me. Of course this was what David wanted. Not his 51-year-old wife with her graying hair and comfortable clothes and body that had borne his child and bore the marks of time. He wanted this. Wanted her. Wanted to feel young and desirable and alive in ways our marriage no longer made him feel. I drove home in a daze. I don't remember the route I took. Don't remember stopping at red lights or turning at intersections. I was on autopilot, my mind spiraling into dark places. When I pulled into our garage, I sat in the car for 30 minutes, unable to move, unable to process the depth of my humiliation. David wasn't just having an affair. He was having a relationship with someone young and beautiful and everything I used to be, but could never be again. The affair 3 months ago with Melissa, probably the same pattern. Younger, fitter, fresher, and here I was, the aging wife, discarded and deceived, too pathetic to even leave. That evening Emily called. She video chatted from her dorm room, her face bright and happy, telling me about her veterinary classes, her new boyfriend Jake, her plans for Thanksgiving break. "Is Dad there?" she asked. I want to tell him about my anatomy exam. I got an A. I lied smoothly, automatically. "He's at a work conference, honey. He'll be back tomorrow. He'll be so proud of you." Emily beamed. We talked for another 20 minutes, and I performed my role perfectly. Supportive mother, interested listener, normal person with a normal life. When we hung up, I looked at my reflection in the darkened phone screen. I barely recognized myself. When had I become this woman who lied so easily? Who protected her husband's image even while he destroyed her? Who smiled and pretended and performed while dying inside? Sunday evening, David came home. He was cheerful, relaxed, clearly satisfied with his weekend. Conference was great, he said, hauling his suitcase into our bedroom. Made some good connections. How was your weekend? I told him it was fine, quiet, that I'd caught up on some reading and talked to Emily. He showered, unpacked, came downstairs for the dinner I'd prepared. Chicken parmesan, his favorite. We ate at the kitchen table, and he told me elaborate stories about sessions he'd attended, people he'd met, conversations he'd had, all lies. Carefully constructed, detail-rich lies. I nodded along, asked follow-up questions, played my part. Inside, I was screaming. Inside, I was drowning. Inside, I was planning. After dinner, David wanted to watch a movie. We sat on the couch, his arm around my shoulders, watching some action thriller he'd picked. During a quiet scene, he leaned over and kissed me. "I missed you," he whispered. The words felt like violence, like assault. How dare he? How dare he miss me while spending the weekend with her? How dare he touch me with the same hands that had touched her? How dare he speak words of love when everything he'd done proved they meant nothing? But I kissed him back. I let him lead me upstairs. I let him make love to me in our bed, in the space that was supposed to be sacred, supposed to be ours. And when he fell asleep afterward, when his breathing deepened into the familiar pattern of his unconscious state, I lay there with tears, streaming silently down my face, soaking into the pillowcase. This couldn't continue. This limbo, this half-life, this existence where I knew everything, but did nothing. I was killing myself slowly, staying in this marriage, accepting these lies. But leaving felt impossible too. Starting over at 51, explaining to Emily that her parents were divorcing, dividing assets, finding somewhere to live, building a new life from nothing. The logistics felt overwhelming, paralyzing. So I stayed in bed next to my cheating husband, paralyzed by fear and humiliation, and the terrible knowledge that I didn't know how to be anyone other than David Henderson's wife. I'd forgotten how to be Claire. I'd forgotten who she even was. Monday morning, I woke up different. Something had crystallized overnight, hardened in the dark hours while David slept peacefully beside me. I'd spent 3 months trying to forgive, trying to rebuild, trying to be enough, and all that effort, all that grace I'd extended, had bought me nothing but more lies and deeper humiliation. I was done trying to save our marriage, but I wasn't ready to leave yet either. Not unprepared, not without understanding the full scope of his betrayal, not without protecting myself. I needed information. I needed leverage. I needed a plan. After David left for work, I started methodically going through our house, not randomly searching, but strategically documenting. I photographed every bank statement I could find. I created a hidden folder on my laptop and scanned documents, financial records, property deeds, titles. I went through David's home office with careful precision, photographing, then replacing everything exactly where I'd found it. Credit card statements showed charges I hadn't known about, restaurants I'd never been to, hotels, jewelry stores, thousands of dollars spent on a life I wasn't part of. I documented everything. I created a secret email account using my maiden name, Claire Morrison. It felt significant, reclaiming that identity. I forwarded all the documents to myself, stored everything in the cloud where David couldn't access or delete it. Then I did something that terrified me. I called my sister Rachel in Portland. We hadn't spoken in weeks, not since she'd begged me to leave David after the first affair. I'd been too ashamed to call her, too embarrassed to admit that I'd chosen to stay, to try to forgive, but I needed her now. "Claire?" Rachel's voice was cautious, concerned. "Are you okay?" And just like that, hearing my sister's voice, I broke. Everything I'd been holding in for 3 months came pouring out. The second phone, the fake conference, the blonde woman at the gym, the lies upon lies upon lies. Rachel listened without interrupting, and when I finally stopped talking, exhausted and raw, she spoke with quiet intensity. "Come stay with me. Pack a bag and come to Portland. Tonight. Right now." I wanted to. God, how I wanted to. But I couldn't. Not yet. "I need to do this right," I told her. "I need to be smart. He's been planning this, deceiving me for months, maybe years. I need to plan too. I need to protect myself." Rachel understood. She'd been through a divorce herself 7 years ago. "Okay," she said. "Then let's make a plan. First thing, find a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A good one. A shark. Someone who'll fight for you. She gave me the name of a colleague whose sister practiced family law, a woman named Patricia Vance who'd built a reputation for winning tough cases. Second, Rachel continued, document everything. Every lie, every expense, every moment you can prove he's cheating. Michigan is a no-fault state, but evidence still matters for asset division, and especially if you want to prove he's been hiding money or assets. I listened, taking notes, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Purpose, direction, control. After we hung up, I sat in David's office, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, and made another call. Patricia Vance's office was in downtown Detroit, a sleek high-rise with a professional receptionist who tried to tell me the attorney was booked for weeks. It's urgent, I said firmly. It's regarding a divorce case with significant assets and evidence of infidelity and possible financial misconduct. The magic words. Within an hour, I had an appointment for Wednesday morning. Patricia Vance would see me herself. Tuesday evening, David came home with flowers again. Tulips. Always tulips. Just because, he said, kissing me. You're amazing, Claire. I don't tell you that enough. The performance was so practiced, so smooth. If I didn't know better, I'd believe him. Actually, that wasn't true. If I was still the woman I'd been 3 months ago, I would believe him. But I wasn't her anymore. That Claire had died the night I found the second phone. This Claire was different, harder, smarter, angrier. This Claire smiled and accepted the flowers and thanked him, and felt absolutely nothing except cold determination. That night in bed, David initiated sex. I went through the motions, gave him what he expected, then excused myself to the bathroom afterward. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at my reflection. 51 years old. Gray streaks in my brown hair that I'd been meaning to dye. Lines around my eyes and mouth. A body that had carried and birthed a child, that had aged naturally and unremarkably. I wasn't ugly. I wasn't unattractive. I was just older, real, human. And apparently, that wasn't enough. That realization should have broken me. But instead, it clarified something. This wasn't about me. David's affairs weren't about me not being enough or attractive enough or interesting enough. They were about him, his emptiness, his insecurity, his need for validation from younger women to feel alive. I'd spent months thinking I'd failed as a wife, wondering what I could have done differently, but I'd done nothing wrong except trust the wrong person. Wednesday morning, I told David I had a dentist appointment. He barely looked up from his phone. Okay. Don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning. I drove to Patricia Vance's office in downtown Detroit, my heart hammering with nerves and anticipation. Her office was on the 23rd floor, all glass and chrome and expensive furniture. Patricia herself was in her late 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored navy suit, her dark hair pulled into a sleek bun. She had kind eyes, but a firm handshake, the combination of warmth and steel that made me trust her immediately. For 90 minutes, I told her everything, showed her everything, the documents, the bank statements, the screenshots from my fake Facebook profile, the timeline of David's lies. Patricia took notes on a yellow legal pad, her expression neutral but focused. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me directly. Claire, you have an excellent case. Your documentation is thorough, but I need to ask you something important. What do you want from this divorce? Revenge? Justice? Financial security? Peace? Because the answer affects our strategy. I thought about it. What did I want? I want my life back, I finally said. I want to not be afraid anymore. I want enough money to start over, to maybe go back to school or start a business. I want him to understand that he doesn't get to destroy me without consequences. But mostly, I just want to be free. Patricia smiled, a genuine warmth that crept into her professional demeanor. Then let's get you free. Here's what we're going to do. She outlined a strategy. Continue documenting. Don't confront David yet. Let him think everything is fine while we build an airtight case. Trace the hidden phone. Possibly hire a private investigator to document the affair. Review all marital assets. Look for any accounts or properties I might not know about. File for divorce strategically when we have maximum leverage. This will take time, Patricia warned. Maybe a few months. Can you maintain the facade that long? I thought about it. 3 months ago, I would have said no, but I was different now. Stronger, more patient. Yes, I said. I can do whatever it takes. 2 weeks into working with Patricia, I received a call that changed everything. She'd hired a private investigator, a woman named Denise Crawford, who specialized in infidelity cases. Denise had been following David for 10 days, documenting his movements, his meetings, his patterns. What she'd discovered was so much worse than I'd imagined. The affair wasn't just an affair. It was a relationship, a whole separate life. The woman's name was Amber Pelletier, 28 years old, personal trainer at Pinnacle Fitness, which explained their initial connection. But it went deeper than I'd realized. David had been seeing her for over a year, not 3 months like with Melissa, not a brief midlife crisis fling. A full year. They had routines, dinner every Tuesday at a restaurant in Royal Oak, hotel visits every Friday when he claimed to be working late, weekend trips to Chicago, to Cleveland, to Indianapolis, all disguised as business conferences. Denise had photographs of everything, David and Amber holding hands at restaurants, kissing in parking lots, entering and leaving hotels together. The evidence was comprehensive, damning, irrefutable. But the photographs weren't even the worst part. The worst part was the apartment. David had rented a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Detroit, under his name, paid for with marital funds. A love nest for his double life. Denise had documentation, lease agreements, bank statements showing monthly rent payments. He'd been living a complete separate existence, furnished this apartment, created a space for his affair that he'd been financing with money that was half mine. The violation of it, the calculated long-term deception, made me physically ill. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a deliberate choice to maintain 2 lives simultaneously. "There's more," Patricia said when I met with her to review Denise's findings. She pulled out another folder, this one containing financial documents. While investigating, Denise noticed David making regular transfers to an account we couldn't trace. We dug deeper. She slid a bank statement across the desk. It showed an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, over $400,000. Money transferred gradually over the past 6 years from our joint accounts, from his bonuses, from his salary. "He's been hiding marital assets," Patricia explained, "preparing for something. Maybe he was planning to leave you but wanted to secure money first. Or maybe he just wanted a safety net, money you couldn't access in a divorce." The betrayal compounded. It wasn't just emotional anymore. It was financial, premeditated, strategic. I felt dizzy staring at those numbers. $400,000. While I'd been asking David if we could afford for me to take some courses to restart my career, he'd been siphoning off nearly $500,000 into an account I didn't know existed. While I'd been clipping coupons and shopping sales to keep our household budget reasonable, he'd been funding a separate life. The cruelty of it was staggering. "Can we get it back?" I asked. Patricia smiled, a sharp expression that reminded me why Rachel had called her a shark. "Oh, we can do better than that. Michigan is an equitable distribution state. He hid marital assets. That's fraud. Not only will that money be counted in the asset division, but a judge will likely punish him for hiding it. You could end up with significantly more than 50% of everything." For the first time in months, I felt something close to hope. Not hope for our marriage, that was dead and buried, but hope for myself. Hope that I wouldn't walk away from 22 years with nothing. Hope that there were consequences for betrayal. Hope that I could start over with resources, with options, with the possibility of building a life that was actually mine. Patricia continued outlining the strategy. We file in 2 weeks. We serve him at work. Maximum public embarrassment. We immediately freeze all accounts so he can't transfer or hide any more money. We present all this evidence, the affair, the hidden phone, the apartment, the offshore account. We push for a settlement that gives you the house, significant liquid assets, and alimony. If he fights it, we go to trial. And trust me, no judge will be sympathetic to a man who's done what he's done. I authorized her to move forward, signed the retainer agreement, wrote a check from my own private account, one David didn't know about, that my parents had set up for me when Emily was born. It was only $15,000, my emergency fund, but I used it to pay Patricia's retainer. It felt symbolic somehow. Using money that was purely mine to finance my escape from a man who'd stolen from me in every possible way. That evening, I went home and made dinner. Lasagna, David's second favorite meal. He came home at 7, loosened his tie, kissed my cheek. "Smells amazing," he said. We ate dinner together, discussing our days in vague, pleasant terms. He told me about a meeting with suppliers. I told him I'd had lunch with a friend from church, a lie he didn't question because he never really listened anyway. After dinner, we watched television, a comedy sitcom that David loved, and I found mildly amusing. We laughed at the appropriate moments. At 10, we went upstairs. He brushed his teeth, got into bed, reached for me. We had sex, and I was present enough to satisfy him, but distant enough to protect myself. Afterward, he fell asleep within minutes. I lay awake, thinking about the apartment in downtown Detroit, imagining Amber there, young and beautiful, wearing the red lingerie David had bought her with money that was half mine. Imagining David in that space, relaxed and authentic in ways he never was at home. Imagining the life he'd built separate from me, the version of himself he preferred. And I felt something surprising. Not heartbreak anymore, not even anger, just cold, clarifying resolve. I was done being the victim in this story, done being the woman things happened to. In 2 weeks, I'd be the woman who fought back, the woman who reclaimed her life, the woman who proved that underestimating her was a terrible mistake. I got out of bed quietly, careful not to wake David. I went downstairs to the kitchen and opened my laptop. I created a new document and started writing. Not for David, not for Patricia or Denise or any lawyer, for myself. I wrote down every sacrifice I'd made, every career opportunity I'd passed on, every move I'd made to support his success, every dinner party where I'd smiled and played the supportive wife, every therapy session where I'd forgiven him, every moment I'd chosen his needs over my own. It took 3 hours to write it all down, and when I finished, I had a 20-page document cataloging 2 decades of selfless devotion that had been rewarded with betrayal and contempt. I saved the document and titled it, "The Cost of Loyalty." Then I emailed it to myself at my secret Claire Morrison email address. Insurance. Evidence. Proof that I'd given everything and received nothing in return. Proof that whatever I took from this divorce, I'd earned 10 times over. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark kitchen for a long time, listening to the house settle around me. In 2 weeks, this would all be different. In 2 weeks, David would know that I knew everything. In 2 weeks, the performance would end. I felt ready. Finally, after months of fear and confusion and paralysis, I felt ready to fight. The 2 weeks before filing felt endless and immediate simultaneously. Every day, I maintained perfect normalcy. Perfect wife, perfect home, perfect lie. But beneath the surface, I was preparing for war. Patricia had given me a checklist of tasks, and I executed each one with methodical precision. I felt like a spy in my own life, operating in secret, gathering intelligence, positioning pieces on a chessboard David didn't know we were playing. First, I secured my own financial independence. I opened a new bank account at a different institution, one David had no access to. I transferred money from our joint savings gradually, small amounts that wouldn't trigger his attention. 500 here, 1,000 there. Over 2 weeks, I moved $18,000 into my private account. Not enough to cripple us, but enough to give me immediate access to funds when everything went public. Patricia had advised me that David would likely try to freeze accounts or cut off my access once served, so having money he couldn't control was essential. Next, I gathered every document of value: birth certificates, social security cards, Emily's medical records, insurance policies. I made copies of everything and stored them in a safety deposit box at my new bank. I packed a bag, kept it hidden in the trunk of my car, containing clothes, toiletries, medications, and copies of all the evidence Patricia and I had compiled. If David became aggressive or dangerous when served, I needed to be able to leave immediately and safely. I also changed passwords on every account I personally controlled: email, social media, phone. I enabled 2-factor authentication on everything. I didn't think David would try to hack my accounts, but Patricia had seen it happen in other cases. Vindictive spouses trying to delete evidence or gather ammunition. I wasn't taking chances. Every password became something David couldn't guess. Combinations of my maiden name and Emily's birthday and random numbers. I wrote them all down and stored the list in my safety deposit box. Then I did something that felt both necessary and heartbreaking. I told Emily, not everything. She didn't need to know the full scope of her father's betrayal yet, But she needed to know that divorce was coming. I couldn't blindside her, couldn't let her find out from someone else, or from the inevitable gossip that would follow. I drove to Ann Arbor one afternoon, told David I was going to visit Emily and take her shopping. We met at a quiet cafe near campus, and I sat across from my beautiful daughter, this young woman who looked so much like me at that age, and destroyed her sense of family security. "Dad and I are getting divorced," I said simply. Emily's face went pale. "What? No. You guys went to therapy. You were working things out." I took her hand across the table. "I thought we were too, honey. But your father hasn't been honest. He's still having an affair. Multiple affairs, actually. And he's been hiding money. I can't stay married to someone who treats me with such disrespect." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Does Dad know you're filing?" "Not yet. Next week. But I wanted you to hear it from me first. I wanted you to know that this has nothing to do with you. You are loved by both of us. This is between your father and me." We talked for 2 hours. Emily cried. I cried. She asked questions I answered as honestly as I could without destroying David completely in her eyes. He was still her father. Whatever else he'd done to me, he'd been a decent dad to Emily. She deserved to maintain that relationship if possible. "Where will you live?" Emily asked. "Will I still have a home to come back to?" "You'll always have a home," I promised. "I'm keeping the house if I can, or I'll get an apartment near here so you're close to school. Whatever happens, you're my priority. You'll always have me." Emily nodded, wiping her tears. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm sorry Dad did this to you. It's not your fault, baby. None of this is your fault." When I left Ann Arbor that evening, I felt emotionally wrecked but also lighter somehow. Emily knew. One less lie to maintain, one less performance to sustain. I drove home, walking into our house with its familiar smells and sounds and furniture that David and I had selected together over 2 decades. How much of this would I keep? How much would I want to keep? How much was tainted by memory and betrayal? I looked around the living room, at the photos on the walls, family portraits from various stages of Emily's life, David and me smiling in posed happiness. All of it had been real once. Or had it? When had David started cheating? When had our marriage become hollow? Had there ever been a time when he was faithful and truthful and present? Or had I been living in a performance from the beginning? The weekend before filing, David suggested we go out to dinner. "Date night," he said. "Just us. We haven't done that in a while." It was true. Since the therapy had worked, he'd stopped making those kinds of gestures. This felt like another manipulation, another performance. But I agreed. We went to Salvatore's, an Italian restaurant we'd been going to for years. David ordered wine, made a toast to us, to our marriage, to our future. I smiled and clinked glasses and pretended everything was fine. Over dinner, he talked about work, about a possible promotion coming up, about wanting to take Emily and me on a cruise next summer. "Family trip," he said. "All of us. Caribbean, maybe. What do you think?" I nodded along, knowing there would be no cruise, no future, no us. In 5 days, his world would implode. But for now, I played along, smiled, laughed, let him believe his deception was still working. That night, we made love in our bed, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even physical pleasure, just numbness, emotional disconnection. I'd already left this marriage in every way that mattered. My body was still here, performing its role, but my heart and mind had moved on. Afterward, David held me, whispered that he loved me, that I was everything to him. Empty words, meaningless words, words he probably also said to Amber in their downtown apartment. I didn't respond, just closed my eyes and waited for him to fall asleep. When his breathing deepened, I carefully extracted myself from his embrace and went downstairs. I sat in the dark living room, in the armchair by the window, and looked out at our quiet suburban street, Madison Heights, this house, this life. Soon it would all be different. Soon there would be lawyers and court dates and division of assets, and probably some ugliness I couldn't even anticipate yet, but also freedom, also possibility, also a chance to rediscover who Claire Morrison was beneath 2 decades of Mrs. David Henderson. I thought about my father, about standing at the base of the Sears Tower when I was 7, about his dream that I'd create things that outlasted me. I'd lost that dream somewhere along the way, but maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe at 51 I could still build something meaningful. Maybe I could still become someone who mattered beyond being David's wife or Emily's mother. Maybe I could still be Claire. Monday morning, Patricia called. "Everything's ready. We're serving him tomorrow at his office at 2 p.m. Are you prepared?" Was I prepared? I'd spent 2 weeks documenting, planning, protecting myself. I'd told Emily. I'd secured my own funds. I'd gathered evidence. I'd done everything Patricia had advised. But emotionally, could anyone be truly prepared to blow up their life, even when that life was poisoned? "I'm ready," I told her. "Do it." Tuesday, November 19th, the day everything changed. I woke up at 6 a.m., my stomach churning with anticipation and dread. David was still asleep beside me. I watched him for a moment. This man I'd spent 22 years with, trying to find some trace of the person I'd fallen in love with at Susan's wedding. But that man, if he'd ever really existed, was long gone. In his place was a stranger who'd systematically betrayed and deceived me while I'd devoted myself to our partnership. I got out of bed quietly and went downstairs to make coffee. The morning proceeded normally. David came down at 7, already dressed for work in his slate gray suit and the navy tie I'd bought him for his birthday. He kissed my cheek, poured coffee, ate the toast and eggs I'd prepared. We exchanged pleasant small talk about the weather, about Emily's midterm exams, about nothing important. He left at 7:45, grabbing his briefcase and jacket from the hook in the garage. The jacket that had started everything. The jacket where I'd found the second phone. He called goodbye from the door, told me he'd be home around 6. I stood at the kitchen window and watched him back down the driveway, watched his Audi disappear down Madison Avenue, and knew I'd never have another morning like this. Never another performance. Never another lie. Today was the last day of the old life. At 1:30, my phone rang. "Patricia, the process server is in position. He'll approach David at 2 p.m. Are you somewhere safe?" I was at Rachel's friend's house, a woman named Denise who lived in Birmingham, about 40 minutes from our house. She'd graciously agreed to let me wait there, said I shouldn't be alone when everything went down. "I'm safe," I confirmed. "Okay," Patricia said. "I'll call you when it's done." I hung up and sat on Denise's comfortable sofa, hands shaking, heart racing. This was it, the point of no return. At 2:23, Patricia called back. "It's done. David has been served." He called me immediately, threatening to sue for harassment, claiming this is all a mistake. I informed him that we have comprehensive evidence of his multiple affairs, his hidden apartment, and his offshore account. He became very quiet. Then he asked if you were safe. I found that interesting, almost like he was concerned you might hurt yourself. I told him you were fine and that we'd be in touch with settlement terms. She paused. "Claire, you need to prepare yourself. He's going to come home. Probably soon. Probably angry. Make sure you're not there." I thanked her and hung up. Denise offered to let me stay the night, but I had a different plan. I'd rented a small furnished apartment in Royal Oak, a one-bedroom place that would be my temporary home until the divorce was finalized. Patricia had advised getting out of the marital home immediately, both for my safety and to establish separate residency. I'd already moved most of my important belongings there yesterday while David was at work. Now, I just needed to get my car from Denise's house and go to my new place, start my new life. But before I could leave, my phone rang. David. I stared at the screen, his name and photo lighting up the display. A picture from 5 years ago, when we'd gone to Niagara Falls for our anniversary. Him smiling at the camera, arm around me. That man felt like a character in a movie, not anyone real. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello." My voice was steady, controlled. "Claire." David's voice was ragged, desperate. "Claire, what the hell is this? Divorce papers? A process server at my office in front of my colleagues? Are you serious right now?" "Completely serious. This is insane. We can talk about this. Whatever you think happened, we can work through it. Come home. Let's talk like adults." The audacity of it stunned me. Like adults. As if he'd been behaving like an adult while maintaining a year-long affair and hiding hundreds of thousands of dollars. "I'm not coming home, David. That's not my home anymore. I have my own place now." Silence. Then, "What are you talking about? You moved out? When? Why?" "I moved out because you've been cheating on me continuously for at least a year, probably longer. You have a second phone, David. I found it. I know about Amber. I know about the apartment in downtown Detroit. I know about the offshore account. I know everything." More silence. I could practically hear his mind racing, trying to figure out how I'd discovered everything, how much I actually knew, what his next move should be. When he spoke again, his tone had shifted, anger replaced by calculation. "Claire, I think you're confused. I don't know what you think you found, but..." "Don't," I interrupted. "Don't insult me by lying anymore. I have photographs, David, bank statements, lease agreements. A private investigator has been documenting your movements for weeks. I have evidence of everything. You can admit it, or you can lie and look even worse in court. Your choice." A long pause, then a sound I'd never heard from David before. He was crying, actually crying. "Claire, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. I love you. I do. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. And then I didn't know how to stop, and I thought I could manage it all," and his words tumbled over each other. Desperate. Pathetic. Part of me wanted to feel something. Sympathy, maybe. Or vindication. But I felt nothing. Just tired. "You should talk to a lawyer," I said quietly. "Patricia will be sending settlement terms. If you agree to them, we can do this quietly. If you fight it, everything becomes public record. Every affair, every hidden dollar, every lie. I don't want to destroy you, David. I just want out. But I won't be screwed over financially after giving you 2 decades of my life. So cooperate, and we can both move on. Can we please just meet? Talk in person? There's so much you don't understand. There's nothing to understand. You cheated, you lied, you hid money, you disrespected me and our marriage in every possible way. The time for talking is over." I could hear his breathing, harsh and uneven. "What about Emily?" "Emily knows." I told her. "She's hurt and angry, but she'll be okay. You're still her father. You can maintain that relationship if you act like a decent human being from here on out." "I can't believe this is happening." David's voice cracked. "I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you gave me reason to," I responded. "Goodbye, David." I hung up before he could say anything else. I sat there in Denise's living room, phone in my trembling hands, and felt something break open inside me. Not heartbreak, not grief, release. 22 years of anger and disappointment, and suppressed rage and swallowed dignity came pouring out in heaving sobs that shook my entire body. Denise sat beside me, put her arm around my shoulders, let me cry without trying to fix it or minimize it or rush me through it. I cried for the woman I used to be, Claire Morrison, the architect. I cried for the marriage I'd thought I had. I cried for the years I'd wasted on a man who didn't deserve my devotion. And when the tears finally stopped, when I'd emptied myself of every ounce of grief, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Light, free, like I'd been carrying a boulder and finally set it down. "You okay?" Denise asked gently. I nodded. "Yeah, actually I think I am." I stood up, gathered my purse, headed toward the door. I had a new apartment waiting, a new life waiting, a future that belonged entirely to me. "Thank you for letting me be here today," I told Denise. She hugged me tightly. "Anytime. You're stronger than you know, Claire." I hoped she was right. I drove to my new apartment in Royal Oak, a modest 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an older building. It wasn't much. Basic furniture, white walls, small kitchen, but it was mine. No memories of David, no ghost of our marriage, just clean, empty space I could fill with whoever I decided to become. I stood in the middle of the living room and slowly turned in a circle, taking it all in. This was day 1. Day 1 of being Claire again. Day 1 of freedom. 6 months have passed since I walked out of our house on Madison Heights. 6 months since David was served with divorce papers at his office. 6 months since I stopped being Mrs. David Henderson and started remembering how to be Claire Morrison again. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. True to Patricia's prediction, once David saw the evidence, the offshore account, the documented affairs, he didn't fight much. We settled. I got the house, which I immediately sold because I couldn't stand to live there anymore. Too many memories. Too much betrayal embedded in the walls. I got 62% of our marital assets, plus 3 years of alimony. The offshore money was recovered and split, though I got the larger share as compensation for David's fraud. When everything was divided, I walked away with just over $900,000. Not a fortune, but enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to start over. Enough to build something new. I bought a small 2-bedroom condo in Ann Arbor, close to Emily's campus. She and I have grown closer through all of this. She was angry at David for a while, refused to talk to him for 2 months. Eventually, she agreed to family therapy, just the two of them, to work through her feelings about his betrayal. I stayed out of it. Whatever relationship they rebuild is between them. Emily comes over twice a week for dinner. We cook together, talk about her classes, her boyfriend Jake, her plans after graduation. She's resilient, my daughter. Stronger than I was at her age. She'll be fine. David, from what I hear, is still with Amber. They moved in together after the divorce finalized, into a bigger apartment in downtown Detroit. Part of me wonders if he's happy, if this relationship is what he'd been seeking all along. But mostly, I don't think about him at all. He's become background noise, a character in a story I'm no longer part of. He pays alimony on time. He was civil during the division of assets. That's all I need from him now. The anger I carried for so long has faded into indifference. Indifference feels like peace. The biggest change has been professional. Remember how I said I used to be an architect? That I gave up my career for David's ambitions? Well, I'm going back. Not to full-scale commercial architecture. I'm 52 now, and the field has evolved beyond where I left it. But I enrolled in a continuing education program at University of Michigan, taking courses in sustainable residential design. It turns out there's a market for architects who specialize in eco-friendly home renovations, helping people modernize older homes with energy-efficient systems and layouts. I'm good at it. Really good at it. My professors have been impressed with my designs, with how I've adapted classical architecture principles to modern sustainability needs. One of them connected me with a small firm in Ann Arbor that specializes in green residential projects. They hired me part-time. It's not glamorous. I'm basically an intern at 52, working alongside people half my age. But I don't care. I'm building things again, creating spaces that will outlast me, becoming who my father always believed I could be. My sister Rachel flew out from Portland last month. We spent a weekend together, just the two of us, talking about everything. About my marriage, about her divorce 7 years ago, about how we'd both lost ourselves in relationships with men who didn't deserve us, about how reclaiming our identities had been terrifying and liberating simultaneously. I'm proud of you, Rachel told me. It takes courage to start over at our age. Most people just accept the lives they have, even when those lives are suffocating them. You didn't. You fought for yourself. Her words made me cry. Good tears this time. Grateful tears. I hadn't fought for myself in so long. I'd forgotten I was worth fighting for. I've started dating, though nothing serious yet. Just coffee meetups with men I match with on apps. Seeing what's out there. Remembering how to flirt and be seen as something other than someone's wife. It's awkward and sometimes funny and occasionally disappointing. But it's mine. My choice. My timeline. My standards. I went on a date last week with a man named Thomas, a divorced English professor at Eastern Michigan University. We talked for 3 hours at a coffee shop in Ypsilanti about books and architecture and how starting over feels like being reborn, terrifying and exciting simultaneously. He asked to see me again. I said yes. I don't know if it'll turn into anything, but I'm open to possibility. That's new. For decades, I wasn't open to anything except David's needs and demands. Now, I'm open to everything. To risk, to failure, to success, to joy, to heartbreak, to life. Last week I went back to Madison Heights. Not to the house that's sold, belongs to a young family now, but to the neighborhood, the streets where I used to walk Emily in her stroller, where I used to jog before dawn, where I spent 22 years of my life. I parked near the elementary school where Emily attended kindergarten through 5th grade, and I sat in my car just looking around, remembering who I was back then, a young mother, a devoted wife, a woman who believed in fairy tales and happy endings, and the idea that sacrifice equaled love. I felt compassion for that woman. She'd been naive, yes. She'd accepted too much, demanded too little. But she'd also been trying her best with the tools and beliefs she had. She'd loved deeply, even when that love wasn't reciprocated. She'd given everything, even when nothing was given back. She'd endured, and eventually she'd found the strength to leave. I'm not that woman anymore, but I carry her with me. She taught me lessons I needed to learn, about resilience, about the cost of losing yourself, about the necessity of boundaries and self-respect, and refusing to accept crumbs from people who should be offering banquets. The woman I am now, Claire Morrison at 52, is built on the foundation of who Claire Henderson was at 29, at 40, at 51. All those versions of me, even the ones I'm not proud of, contributed to who I'm becoming. And I like who I'm becoming. I'm building a life that's mine, a career that fulfills me, relationships that respect me, a future that excites rather than suffocates me. The second phone, the one I found hidden in David's jacket that November night, changed everything. It was the catalyst that forced me to see what I'd been avoiding for years, that my marriage was hollow, that David didn't respect me, that I deserved better than a man who could look me in the eyes and lie without flinching. Finding that phone was the worst moment of my life, and the best moment simultaneously. It destroyed everything I thought I knew, and in that destruction, it created space for something new, for me to rebuild, to rediscover, to reclaim. If you're reading this, if you're in a situation where you're being lied to, disrespected, diminished, please hear me. You are worth more than that. You are worth more than staying in a relationship that requires you to become smaller, so someone else can become bigger. You are worth more than accepting betrayal, because leaving feels too hard or too scary or too expensive. Yes, leaving is hard. Yes, starting over is terrifying. Yes, there will be moments when you question everything, when you wonder if you made a mistake, when you miss the familiarity of your old life, even if it was killing you. But on the other side of that fear is freedom. On the other side is possibility. On the other side is a version of yourself you forgot existed, waiting to be rediscovered. I'm Claire Morrison. I'm 52 years old. I'm an architect in training. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a woman learning to date again. I'm a person who gave 22 years to a marriage that didn't deserve them. And I'm someone who finally chose herself. It's never too late. That's what I've learned. It's never too late to start over, to reclaim your dreams, to demand better, to build a life that's actually yours. The second phone hidden in that jacket pocket showed me the truth, but the truth set me free. And freedom, it turns out, is worth every ounce of pain it took to get here. This is my story, my truth, my new beginning, and it's just getting started.